All right. Ready to dive into something a little different today. We're going to be looking at the food and drink system in Star Citizen
Interesting.
using the Star Citizen wiki on food and drink.
Okay.
And we've also got a YouTube guide from Digital Master Gaming.
Yeah.
So, we always hear about the ships and the combat and all that.
Right.
But could your food choices actually give you like a strategic advantage out there in the verse?
I think that's a really good question.
Yeah, let's find out.
And it's something that I think a lot of people don't think about.
Right?
When they first get into the game.
Yeah.
It's all about
The shiny ships. Yeah.
the shiny ships and the big guns.
Yeah.
But Cloud Imperium Games, the developers,
Yeah.
they've really gone in depth with this system.
Yeah. And when I was looking at the wiki, I was just blown away by how many different food items there are.
Oh yeah. That's the thing that really stands out to me.
Yeah.
It's just the variety.
Yeah.
Like it's not just, a handful of things to choose from.
Right.
It really suggests that your choices matter.
Yeah.
That there's a depth to this system.
Right.
And that different foods might actually have different effects on how you play the game.
Yeah, that was something that Digital Master Gaming really emphasized in their YouTube guide, too. Like, hunger and thirst aren't just background things. You got to actively manage these.
It's a persistent mechanic.
Right.
You can't just ignore it.
So no more like just, chugging space coffee and powering through on willpower.
Yeah. I mean, you can try,
Right.
but you're not going to be performing at your best.
And you might even die, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. He pointed out that, different activities.
Right.
Like if you're sprinting versus sitting at a console.
It's going to affect how quickly you get hungry or thirsty.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
So there's a realism to it.
Right.
That I think is really cool.
So I get that we need to eat right. But
Yeah.
is there a difference between like, a bologna sandwich and a Snaggle protein stick?
Ah.
Are we talking like space junk food versus healthy food here?
I love that you bring that up
Yeah.
because that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The wiki talks about NDR,
Okay.
nutritional density rating,
Okay.
and HEI, hydration efficacy index.
All right. I'm following you.
So NDR tells you how much a food item restores your hunger.
Okay.
And HEI does the same for thirst.
Makes sense.
But it's not just about, looking for the highest number.
Oh, so there's more to it than just filling the bars.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For example, the Boombo Stew Omni Pack.
Okay.
It has a high NDR, so it's really filling.
Okay.
But it's also hypometabolic.
Hypometabolic.
And according to the wiki, that means it keeps you full for a longer period of time.
So you're not going to get hungry as quickly.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that would be perfect for like a long exploration mission.
Yeah.
Where you're out there in the black.
You don't want to have to stop and eat all the time.
Exactly. You got to pack those snacks.
And I remember in the YouTube video, Digital Master Gaming talked about that.
Yes.
Like stocking up on food and leaving it in your different sets of armor.
It's a good tip.
Right.
Yeah.
Just in case you forget to buy some before heading out.
Always be prepared.
Yeah. That's right.
Exactly.
So, okay, Bombo Stew. That's for long hauls. But what about like if you need a quick burst of energy?
Well, you might want to go for something like Buster's Chocolate Bar.
Buster's Chocolate Bar.
Okay. It's got a much lower NDR,
Okay.
so it's not as filling.
Right.
And it's also hypermetabolic.
Hypermetabolic. So what does that mean?
That means you get a quick burst of energy,
Oh, okay.
but then you experience a crash afterwards.
It's like a sugar rush.
Exactly.
Okay, so you don't want to be relying on that in like a long firefight or something.
Right. You might suddenly find yourself needing a snack break.
Right in the middle of a dogfight.
At the worst possible time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, I also noticed on the wiki that some foods have like these other effects
Yes.
beyond NDR and HEI.
You're talking about the buffs and debuffs.
Yeah, the buffs and debuffs.
There's a whole range of them.
Yeah, like energizing and immune boosting.
Right.
But also things like fatiguing
Yes.
and even cognitive impairing.
Ooh, that sounds a little scary.
Yeah, cognitive impairing. Like, what is that all about?
Well, according to Digital Master Gaming, alcohol falls into that category.
So those fizz drinks you get at Whammers
Exactly.
could actually like mess with your head in the game?
It seems that way.
Okay, so maybe save the strong stuff for after a mission.
I think that's a wise idea.
Yeah, not before you're about to do some tricky flying or something.
Right. You don't want to be impaired when you're trying to navigate an asteroid field.
Exactly. But even beyond alcohol, this whole buff and debuff system it really adds another layer of strategy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just about filling your belly.
Right. You got to think about what you're eating and when.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how food could be just as important as, choosing the right weapon
Right.
or ship component.
It's all part of outfitting yourself for success.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of an impact these buffs and debuffs will actually have on gameplay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Could a well-timed, energizing snack be the difference between winning and losing a dogfight?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah, and Digital Master Gaming mentioned those plus signs
Right.
above the hunger and thirst icons.
Yeah, he suggested they indicate the intensity of the buff or debuff.
Right, so 1 plus sign might be a mild effect,
Right.
but 3 could mean a significant boost.
Or a nasty crash.
Or really bad crash.
Yeah, if it's a negative effect.
So it's like they've created another layer of customization. You're not just equipping your ship and your weapons, but you're also fine-tuning your character's diet.
I like that.
Yeah, for optimal performance.
It's like you're a space athlete.
Right.
Getting ready for the big game.
And the game world itself seems to support this level of detail.
Oh, absolutely.
With all the different vendors.
You've got twin sandwiches for your basic needs.
Right.
Garcia's greens for the health conscious.
Yeah.
And then Whammers.
Yeah.
For that classic greasy spoon experience.
Oh, man, those Whammers burgers.
Yeah.
I love those.
It's like a taste of home.
Right.
Out in the vastness of space.
And speaking of unique offerings, I was looking at Garcia's Greens on the wiki.
Yeah.
And they have this thing called patambu fruit.
Patambu fruit.
It's supposed to have all these beneficial effects.
Really?
With no downsides.
Interesting.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if there are other hidden gems out there.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
Just waiting for players to discover them.
Right, and to figure out how to use them strategically.
Exact.
This is so much more complex than I expected.
I know, right?
It's amazing.
It really makes you appreciate the thought that's gone into this game.
It really does, and it makes me wonder, have they considered all the possible ramifications of this system?
Right.
We've talked about the economics and the gameplay.
Right?
But what about the social and cultural aspects?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's something we should explore further.
Absolutely, because we've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, we've talked about, buying food from vendors.
Right.
But what if players could actually become producers?
Oh, wow.
Specialize in certain types of food.
So not just buying and selling, but maybe growing.
Exactly.
Or crafting food.
Yeah.
Space farmers markets.
Imagine if certain foods,
Yeah.
especially the ones with those unique buffs,
Right.
became really sought after.
So certain activities.
Exactly, like combat or exploration.
Yeah.
Players who could produce those rare or high-quality foods, they could be in high demand.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Right.
Like a whole network of players dedicated to creating the best.
Yeah.
Or maybe even the most exotic.
The most delicious?
Yeah.
The most visually appealing?
Dishes in the verse.
Absolutely.
You could have
You could have a renowned space chef.
a culinary engineer.
Yeah.
With a reputation for crafting the perfect pre-battle meal.
I love that idea.
It fits perfectly with Star Citizen's whole emphasis on specialization, right?
Absolutely.
You've got your pilots,
Yeah.
miners, fighters, and then alongside them, you've got these masters of the culinary arts.
Providing everyone
Yeah.
the sustenance
Yeah.
they need to excel.
Yeah, this idea that food is more than just fuel.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a way to connect with other players.
Right.
To build a reputation. And really become part of this virtual society.
It adds a whole other dimension to the game.
Yeah, and this reminds me of that cognitive impairing effect we talked about.
Oh, you're thinking about the social implications.
Yeah, like the YouTube guide mentioned alcohol.
Right.
Having that effect.
And
Imagine meeting up with your crew at a space bar after a mission.
I love it.
Sharing stories,
Yeah.
maybe having a few drinks.
It just adds to the immersion.
Yeah, it makes the world feel more alive.
It's not just about surviving.
Right.
It's about living in this universe.
Yeah.
And that social element could even extend to gameplay.
Oh, how so?
What if certain foods enhance social interactions? Or open up new dialogue options?
Oh, interesting.
Maybe you need to bring a specific dish to a negotiation
Oh, wow.
to gain favor with a certain faction.
That's a really cool idea.
It adds a whole diplomatic layer.
Yeah, okay, now I'm picturing space cooking competitions.
Oh, yeah.
With players vying to create the most impressive or effective dishes.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Is there anything in the source material that hints at that?
Well, There's no mention of cooking competitions specifically,
Okay.
but the depth of the system
Right.
and the variety of ingredients,
Yeah.
the effects,
Yeah.
it suggests that the developers have considered the potential for player creativity
Yeah.
and emergent gameplay.
It's amazing to think that we started with just keeping our characters fed.
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. And now we're talking about economics,
Yeah.
social dynamics,
Culture.
potential new gameplay mechanics.
It all ties together?
Yeah, and we've only just scratched the surface, right?
Absolutely.
What if certain foods are needed to operate complex machinery?
Interesting.
Or imagine like specific ingredients found only on remote planets that enhance perception,
Oh, wow.
giving players an edge in stealth missions.
And now we're talking about some serious strategic depth.
It makes you wonder if there will be downsides to neglecting your character's diet
Yeah.
beyond just, losing health.
Right.
Could there be long-term consequences?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The YouTube guide focused on the immediate effects of hunger and thirst. But what if a consistently poor diet makes your character more susceptible to disease or injury?
Wow.
Or affects their reflexes, reaction time?
So it could actually make you worse at combat.
Exactly.
Wow.
It could put you at a disadvantage.
So food becomes like another form of equipment.
Absolutely.
Something you can use to enhance your abilities or even specialize for certain tasks.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's like you're literally what you eat
Right.
in the game.
Imagine guilds dedicated to optimizing diets
Yeah.
for specific professions.
For pilots, for miners, for explorers.
Right, players could collaborate,
Share recipes.
trade rare ingredients.
It's a whole new level of player interaction and community building.
I love how this seemingly simple system has so many potential ramifications.
It's something we often take for granted.
Right.
Plays such a central role in all of it.
It really does.
It's fascinating.
It's crazy how much there is to talk about.
I know.
Just looking at food and drink in Star Citizen.
It's a whole world.
And it's clearly a lot more than just a basic survival mechanic.
Absolutely. It makes you think about, how much impact food has. Even in our own lives.
Right.
We don't just eat to survive.
It's part of our culture.
Exactly.
Our social interaction.
Our economy even.
Yeah. It's all connected.
It really is.
And it makes this game world feel so much more real.
Immersive. Right.
Yeah, these characters aren't just, flying around shooting at each other.
They're living in this universe.
They're working, they're eating.
Going to the bar.
Yeah.
Meeting up with friends.
Socializing.
Yeah.
It's great. And the fact that the developers have put so much effort into creating this system.
It shows their commitment to making a believable world.
It makes me wonder if they've considered all the possibilities.
Oh, I'm sure they haven't thought of everything.
Like we've talked about economics and gameplay.
Right.
But what about the social and cultural aspects?
Yeah, like, could different types of food become status symbols?
Oh, yeah.
Or even play a role in interspecies relations.
Like maybe you need to present a certain dish.
Right, as a gift.
To gain favor with an alien race.
Exactly.
Or some foods are taboo.
Oh, yeah.
For certain species.
That would be interesting.
Leading to all sorts of cultural clashes.
It's like they've created this culinary language that players can use to navigate the universe.
Yeah, you got to learn the customs.
Exactly.
Before you go offering someone a plate of grubs or something.
Right. You might offend them.
I'm definitely going to have to jump back into the game.
Yeah.
And start experimenting, not just with the ships and weapons.
Or with the food and drink as well.
Yeah, see what kind of advantages I can discover.
Or disadvantages.
Right.
Maybe there's some space food out there that makes you terrible at flying.
That would be funny.
You got to be careful what you eat.
So what have we learned today?
Well,
we started with a simple look at food and drink.
Trying to survive.
Right.
In the metaverse.
And now we're talking about economics.
Social dynamic.
Gameplay strategy.
Future of food.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
A delicious deep dive, you might say.
I like that.
And I bet our listeners have some thoughts of their own.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
So what stood out to you?
Yeah.
How do you think food and drink could shape the future of Star Citizen?
Leave your comments below.
Share your theories, your culinary experiments.
And be sure to check out the show notes.
Yeah, we've got links to all the sources we talked about.
All the wikis, all the videos.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.